Hello everyone, in this video I'll be doing a general rundown of gear to get on a knight and the order to purchase it for PvE content. This guide will be assuming you're on an established server with gear available. The prices are based on the average price of the Antica market in March 2023. These prices may change over time, or you may be able to get the items cheaper if you're patient enough with the buy offer. Also, this is just my opinion on gear. There are many factors that can change the value of pieces for your character. Other players may have different opinions, or it could change depending on the spawns you are hunting or if you play solo versus in a team. I'll do my best to let you know the reasoning I chose each piece and any further details on each piece I have to help you understand why I recommend it. In the end, this video is just to help you make a decision. I do not play a knight myself, but many people have been asking for this equipment guide made for other vocations after watching my paladin video. I put together the list, did some research, and ran some questions by some knights that were patient enough to help me out. Special thanks to Sir Scallon and Ziggs Chainheart. If you'd like to see a video for Druid or Sorcerer in the future, I'll start working on it if this video gets 500 likes. Also, comment below which one you'd like to see first. I'll list the equipment for each level range in the order I would purchase it. If you have enough money, you may want to skip right to a later item that is more expensive. Starting as a knight, once you reach the mainland, you should have soldier's helmet, brass armor, brass legs, boots, jagged sword, and steel shield. Unfortunately, there is no way to start with another weapon, so if you wanted to use axe or a club, you'll have to immediately replace this weapon. The best option for axe fighters will be Orcish axe or Ripper lance, depending if you want to go one-handed or two-handed, while a club fighter could purchase a Morning Star. As a sword fighter, you could immediately upgrade to a serpent sword if you will not be fighting creatures strong to earth, or a spike sword if so. If you want the two-handed option, purchase a broadsword. If you're playing on older, already established servers, you want to do some research before choosing your weapon type. It's often a lot cheaper to go the club weapon route, as a lot fewer knights chose club fighting in the past. As soon as you reach mainland at level 8, there are many upgrades available to you as a knight. Other vocations don't require maximizing armor, but for knights, you'll be in melee taking hits right from the start. You'll want to get the highest armor pieces you can right off the bat for helmet, armor, and leg slots. I'm not going to go into every item in detail for the first few levels, but we'll show some graphics to let you know what is available. I'll let you know what are the best options you can buy, but if you can't afford it, you may grab something cheaper, for example, plate armor, knight armor, crown armor, etc. There are many options, and you can just buy the best you can afford. Also, another thing to consider is the weapons you'll be upgrading. No matter if you choose axe, club, or sword, starting level 15 or 20, you'll have a new and better one-hander and two-hander basically every 5 levels until you reach level 100. You'll have to decide if you want the protection of a shield or are going for max damage with a two-hander. Also, you'll go through weapons so fast at first, it isn't worth imbuing until around level 70 or 80 because the rate at which you replace weapons will slow down a little. As you reach higher levels, knights gain access to elemental weapons. I'll be discussing these as they become available, if they are worth it, but the value of these items is very dependent on how you hunt. For example, I'll let you know when you unlock an ice weapon worth considering, but if you hunt a lot of burst or specters, it may be worth skipping the purchase of this weapon until you have the money to spare and really need it. The end goal is to have weapons to cover the array of all damage types so you're prepared for any spawn. Finally, starting at level 8, the following upgrades are available to you: Scarf, Platinum Amulet, Demon Helmet, Zawin Helmet, Mastermind Shield, Rift Shield, Magic Plate Armor, Zawin Legs, Dwarven Legs, Boots of Haste, Steel Boots, and Skill Rings. For the necklace slot, Scarf is a cheap 1 armor, but if you can afford a Platinum Amulet for 2,500 gold, purchase one instead. For helmets, your options are Demon Helmet and Zawin Helmet. Zawin Helmet will be better when you're constantly taking hits over 100 damage, and will be the helmet you use until level 230, so you can imbue this right away. Demon Helmet can be considered if you have the money for imbuements off the start. It has 2 slots, which will allow you to put a mana leech imbue as well as a skill increase right away. You'll probably imbue this once or twice, which will give you 20 or 40 hours of hunting before switching to Zawin. Mastermind Shield is slightly lighter than Rift Shield, but the defense is the same, and the cost should be the same as well, so grab whichever you prefer. Armor is an easy choice with Magic Plate Armor, costing around 90,000 gold. You'll be using it until level 120, so feel free to imbue this as you'll be using it a while. Zawin Legs will be your go-to legs and are cheap at 14,000 gold. Golden Legs cost 30,000 gold, and will be slightly better than Zawin at first, but Zawin becomes better when you're taking hits of 56 damage or more. It is safe to skip Golden Legs as you won't need them. Dwarven Legs are very expensive compared to the other items at 180,000, but will be better than Zawin when taking hits over 67 damage. Realistically, you'd be perfectly fine sticking with Zawin, but it could be worth getting Dwarven Legs from the Hidden City of Beauregard quest if you want the upgraded protection. Boots of Haste will be the best boots for speeding up your character, which should be hugely beneficial at low levels. If you want additional protection, use Steel Boots. Both cost 30,000. Lastly, for your ring slot, you can purchase either an axe, club, or sword ring, depending on which weapon type you use. These increase the associated skill by 4 levels for 30 minutes and cost 200 to 300 gold each. You want to be using these as you hunt for increased damage. Besides upgrading your weapons regularly, the first level specific upgrade for knights would be a butterfly ring at level 50. It's an easy quest item to obtain, but it's cheap to buy at 2,000 gold. This ring will fill your ring slot while you're walking around and killing the occasional creature, but if you are doing an actual hunt or boss, you still will be better off running skill rings. Also, the other option I'm mentioning now is the werewolf amulet. There's no level requirement on this, so you can purchase it sooner if you want, but even 50 might be a little early for it, but you should definitely be aware of it. It is cheap at 3,000 gold, but must be charged with moonlight crystals. When charged, it has 3 armor, gives 6% physical protection, and lasts for 1 hour. This would be a great defensive amulet, and the prices of moonlight crystals aren't usually too expensive on most worlds. On Antica, the crystals are under 40 gold each, but on lower populated or newer servers, they could be a few thousand. This would be the best amulet for physical protection for a long time, unless you're using some sort of amulet with charges like a stone skin amulet. At level 60, again, there's a very minor upgrade for knights. It is the Onyx Pendant. The Onyx Pendant is a cheap upgrade over Platinum Amulet and will give you 2% death protection, though in most cases, you'll still be better off running a Werewolf Amulet if you can get the crystals. Knights do get some interesting upgrades at level 65 and 70. If you're a sword fighter, you get Berserker at level 65, but the rest of the items are for level 70. There's a 3 imbuement slot 2-hander for each melee type, as well as Guardian Boots. Guardian Boots cost 36,000 gold and will be the best boots until level 150, so grab them as soon as you can. Next are the 2-handers. Axe fighters get Rift Lance, club fighters get Heavy Mace, and sword fighters get Berserker at level 65 and Havoc Blade at level 70. These will most likely be your go-to 2-handers until level 200, depending on which weapon type you use. All of these are quite affordable, except for the Havoc Blade, which costs 950,000 gold. If you don't have the money for this, you can run the cheaper, with 1 less attack and 13 less defense, Berserker. At level 75, you can get a Gear Wheel Chain for an additional armor over Onyx Pendant, though you'll lose the 2% death protection. You'll still be better off using the Enchanted Werewolf Amulet though, if possible. Now, a few upgrades for sword fighters. Level 80 will give you access to Shield of Corruption and Magic Sword. Shield of Corruption is an awesome shield for sword fighters because of the +3 sword skill. There is no physical protection though, which is a big drawback. This is expensive and can be used in any spawn where you don't need the additional physical protection, but it's very situational. Magic Sword is nice because of the 2 imbue slots, but a little on the expensive side. If you can't afford it, you can wait until level 82 to get Blade of Corruption, which is a cheaper alternative, but a little heavier. If you're an axe fighter, there's an important weapon for your level 85, the Impaler. This may be rare or expensive on some servers, mainly newer ones, because it's only dropped by bosses. This is the only one-handed axe weapon with 2 imbuement slots until level 200. If you go with any other axe weapon, you'll have to give up an imbuement for a while. Level 90 gives club fighters Ornate Mace, which is similar to the Impaler. It is a one-handed club with 2 imbue slots that will most likely take you right to level 200. As an axe fighter, if you can't get an Impaler, you can get a Stonecutter axe at level 90. It has 1 more attack than the Impaler, but only has the 1 imbuement slot. Level 95 will give axe fighters the opportunity to grab a Great Axe. If you don't need 3 imbues of the Rift Lance, this would be a good replacement. It has 3 more attack than the Rift Lance, but only 2 imbuments. Level 100 will give you an Emerald Sword if you're a sword fighter. This sword can be the one to take you all the way to level 200. It is better than Magic Sword and Blade of Corruption, and still has 2 imbuement slots. Also, at level 100, you gain access to the Ring of Red Plasma. These are more expensive than the basic skill rings, and will give you +3 to melee skills instead of the +4 of regular skill rings. The benefit is that the Ring of Red Plasma also gives 3% physical protection. They're a lot more expensive than regular skill rings, but if you take them off with a few seconds before they expire, you can sell them back to an NPC for 8,000 gold. This keeps the cost of them down. If you don't want to have to worry about the increased cost and remember to take them off, stick with the regular skill rings, though you'll lose out on some additional physical protection. Also, you can get a Foxtail Amulet from the Grimvale quest or by purchasing one. You'll still be better off using the Enchanted Werewolf Amulet, but Foxtail is almost on par with it, and without having to worry about charging with Moonlight Crystals. Level 110 brings the Hell-Forged Axe for axe fighters. It is better than the Stonecutter Axe, though this can be replaced by a better and cheaper axe in another 10 levels, so definitely possible to skip. Just remember, we are still working with one imbuement slot unless you purchased an Impaler, so keep that in mind. If you are using one imbuement on a one-hander, level 120 has an option for all melee types: Mycological Mace, Crystalline Axe, and Shiny Blade. These all have better attack values than the previous weapons and give a +1 to the associated skill. They also all only have one imbuement slot, so you'll most likely want to stick with that 2 imbuement slot weapon from 20 plus levels ago. As an axe user, you can purchase the Demon Wing Axe, which is slightly better than the Great Axe if you still only need 2 imbues. Also, we're finally getting into some equipment upgrades that aren't weapons. You'll be able to get a Prismatic Armor, which is very cheap and gives 5% physical protection. Level 130 gives access to Ornate Shield. This will most likely be your go-to shield for a while. It has 5% physical protection, has an imbuement slot, and is fairly cheap. It may be worth grabbing a few of these if you need protection for different elemental imbues depending on your hunting spawn. Now, for level 150. You'll definitely want to get a pair of Depth Calce. These are fairly cheap and will be your best boots for a very long time, unless you have lots of money to spend. They do have a -5 speed penalty, but offer 5% physical protection. Now, for more situational upgrades. For club fighters, there's a Jungle Flail. This is expensive for the level range, but it's the first two-handed weapon worth considering to replace Heavy Mace. You gain 3 attack, but lose an imbuement slot. If you don't need the additional leech imbuement, it could be worth it, but I would most likely skip this. For axe users, there's the Throwing Axe. Also very expensive and only gives +1 axe fighting over Crystalline Axe. If you have the money and are using Crystalline Axe currently, maybe you could purchase it, but I would skip this one as well and keep running either Crystalline Axe or Impaler. Finally, Exotic Legs. Again, an expensive upgrade and only gives 1 more armor and 1% more physical protection than Dwarven Legs, which can be gotten for free doing a quest. If you're able to spend the money, you could grab them, but I would skip them for that price as we'll be getting better legs for dirt cheap in 35 levels. Level 180 gives access to the Phantasmal Axe and Ectoplasmic Shield. Most two-handed weapons do only have 2 imbuement slots, but the 3 imbuement slots become less important when you're considering elemental damages. We are finally reaching the point where there are obvious choices to replace these 3 imbuement slot level 70 items from earlier. Phantasmal Axe is cheap and gives you fire damage, which would be great for any spawn with creatures weak to fire damage. Ectoplasmic Shield is the axe and club fighter equivalent of the Shield of Corruption, but quite a lot cheaper. It will give you +3 to both club and axe fighting, 7% ice resistance, and additional 3% damage from fire, which is a common damage type. This shield is quite situational. It will give you more damage output with the skills, but at the cost of physical protection from other shields, which is generally the highest damage type you'll be taking while hunting. Level 185 is a very simple choice. Ornate Legs are very cheap and will be the best legs from their 40 levels. No reason not to buy them. They have 8 armor and 5% physical protection. Level 200 opens up a lot of options for knights. Firstly, we'll discuss destruction weapons, which all do physical damage. Mace of Destruction, Axe of Destruction, and Blade of Destruction are all one-handed weapons with 2 imbuement slots. These are the first upgrades to one-handed physical weapons since level 80 to 100 weapons. All one-handers will have 2 imbuement slots going forward. The thing we'll be looking for is getting all elemental damage types. Hammer of Destruction, Chopper of Destruction, and Slayer of Destruction are similar to their one-handed counterparts. These are all the first upgrades for two-handed physical damage weapons since level 70 to 80 range that have 3 imbuement slots. Going forward, all two-handers only have 2 imbuement slots until we reach soul weapons, which a lot of players may never be able to afford. If you're a sword fighter, you can get both Summer Blade and Winter Blade. These are both fairly cheap and will give you access to fire and ice damage. You should get both, but if money is an issue, buy whichever one will benefit you most depending on your hunting spawns first. Another important upgrade at this level is Ornate Chestplate. You want to get at least one of these as it is an obvious upgrade over Prismatic Armor. It has 8% physical protection, +3 shield, which will grant you a little mitigation, and 2 imbuement slots. In the long run, you may want to buy multiple of these for different elemental protection imbues because they are the cheapest option for knights. If you switch spawns frequently, you want multiple of the best armor with elemental imbues, but this will only come into place in late game. This is the most affordable option, but if you could buy multiple Falcon Plate, that would obviously be a better option later. Ornate Chestplate is the more affordable way to be able to run different elemental imbues if you switch spawns frequently. The next upgrade available at this level is Gnome Shield. It has 6% physical protection, +2 shielding, and innate 8% energy protection, as well as an imbuement slot for additional elemental imbue. Also, you'll take 2% more ice damage. Two other options to consider at this level are Ring of Souls and Blister Ring. Both are rechargeable with 2 silver tokens, but either way, you lose the skill bonus from a skill ring or Ring of Red Plasma. Ring of Souls gives 2% physical protection and 10% life drain protection. This would be useful for heavy life drain spawns like Spectres and Rashomon. Blister Ring is cheap and gives 6% fire protection. This may be worth it if you're hunting a spawn with a lot of fire damage, but you would most likely be better off getting fire protection elsewhere by running protection imbues and keeping a plasma ring on instead. Level 220 gives weapons for every type of fighter. The options are Cobra Club, Mortal Mace, Cobra Axe, and Cobra Sword. Cobra Club and Mortal Mace are similar stat-wise, but there's a big price difference. This is because Mortal Mace is a classification 3 item. Cobra Club does fire damage, while Mortal Mace does death damage. Both are one-handed and give +2 club fighting. Cobra Axe does ice damage and will give you +2 axe fighting, while Cobra Sword does physical damage and gives +3 sword fighting. This is the best one-handed physical sword and will replace Blade of Destruction when you can afford it. At level 225, we can now grab Fabulous Legs, which will be the best Night Legs for a while. You will lose 1% physical protection compared to Ornate Legs, but you will gain +2 to melee skills and innate 2% fire protection, which is a common damage type in many spawns. Level 230 grants us Resizer if we are a club fighter, and Terra Helmet. Resizer is a very cheap 2-handed weapon that does ice damage and gives +2 club fighting. Terra Helmet is finally a replacement for the Zawin helmet we've had for so long. It has the same armor, physical protection, and 1 imbuement slot, but it also gives +2 to melee skills as well as 5% earth protection. It is also a classification 3 item, which makes it a cheaper option for upgrading in the Forge later if you plan on using this helmet a lot. At level 250, we get access to Umbral Master Hammer, Umbral Master Chopper, Umbral Master Slayer, Gnome Sword, Tagral Blade, and Lion Shield. Umbral Master Hammer, Umbral Master Chopper, and Umbral Master Slayer are all physical damage weapons. You only have 2 imbuement slots versus the 3 of the 2-handed destruction weapons, but these will do more damage if you don't need the additional leech imbuement. Umbral Master Hammer is the strongest physical attack 2-handed club. Umbral Master Chopper can be upgraded at level 270, but is almost 10 times the price, so you'll most likely be sticking with this one for a while. There's an upgrade for Umbral Master Slayer at level 300, and is only a little bit more expensive, so this will be replaced as well. Gnome Sword and Tagral Blade are both cheap swords to add to your collection. Gnome Sword is one-handed, does energy damage, gives +2 sword fighting, and has 6% energy protection. Tagral Blade is two-handed, does earth damage, and has +3 sword fighting. Lastly, Lion Shield. This is a solid shield at a reasonable price. It grants 7% physical protection, has innate 10% earth protection, and an imbuement slot for additional elemental protection if needed. Level 270 has another suite of weapons and 2 armor pieces. There is Eldritch Warmace, Eldritch Great Axe, Eldritch Claymore, Lion Hammer, Lion Axe, Lion Longsword, as well as Lion Plate and Cobra Hood. Eldritch Warmace, Eldritch Great Axe, and Eldritch Claymore are all 2-handed weapons, give +3 to their respective skill, and have 3% cleave. They also each have a gilded version that have the same stats, but it's way more expensive. If for some reason you can get them at the same price, grab whichever is available. The mace and sword both do fire damage, while the axe does physical damage. As I mentioned previously, the axe is an upgrade over Umbral Master Chopper, but for the price, you'll most likely be using the Umbral Master Chopper for a while. Lion Hammer, Lion Axe, and Lion Longsword are all quite affordable one-handed weapons that give +3 to their respective skill and do earth damage. Tagral Blade is better for earth damage and it is two-handed, but the Lion Longsword is obviously better if you need to run a shield and want earth damage. Lion Plate is the best offensive armor until you get endgame gear, which is very expensive. Lion Plate only has 6% physical protection, so you'll be losing 2, 4, or 6% depending on which defensive armor you use, but you'll gain +3 to melee skills. This would be great for spawns where you are safe to give up that additional protection. The +3 skills will give you a little more sustain from your leech imbuements, but you'll be taking more damage. Cobra Hood is quite expensive and similar to Terra Helmet, but without the earth protection. It grants 1 less skill level than Terra as well, but does have 2 imbuement slots, which lets you imbue skill increase. If you're comparing this to Terra and have the skill imbue, you will lose 5% earth protection and have +5 to all skills instead of the +2 of Terra. I wouldn't make this a priority until you have a bit of extra cash, as you'll most likely have other weapons to purchase, and Terra Helmet can keep you going for a bit. Now, at level 300, we've reached the second last milestone for equipment unlocks. We'll gain access to a ton of new weapons and gear, but all the armor pieces will be quite expensive. You will be looking to accumulate these items most likely in the level 300 to 500 range, with some outliers possibly taking you even longer to save the money for. Let's cover the weapons first. Club fighters gain Falcon Mace and Naga Club. Both are one-handed and give +3 club fighting. Falcon Mace does energy damage and gives 7% energy protection. Naga Club is an upgrade for Mace of Destruction, so swap these items when possible. Axe fighters get Falcon Battle Axe and Naga Axe. Falcon Battle Axe is two-handed, does energy damage, gives +4 axe fighting, and grants 12% energy protection. Naga Axe is one-handed, does energy damage, and gives +3 axe fighting. Falcon Battle Axe is obviously better here damage-wise, but if you need additional protection, Naga Axe will let you use a shield. If you have to make a decision based on money between these two, buy the one that applies to you better at the moment if you know you'll be using energy damage on the two-hander or require a shield for your planned hunts. For swords, we get Falcon Longsword and Naga Sword. Falcon Longsword will be an upgrade to your Umbral Master Slayer. It has a higher attack, gives +4 sword, and has 10% earth protection. It isn't too expensive, so this should be an easy upgrade. Naga Sword is quite expensive and is slightly better than Winterblade. Once you can afford it, it will replace your Winterblade, but for the price, you'll be better off holding on your Winterblade a little longer. Now for the armor pieces. Firstly, we have Eldritch Cuirass and Falcon Plate. Eldritch Cuirass is actually available at level 250, but I mention it now because money will most likely be tight before now. It has 2% more protection than Ornate Chestplate, but is twice the price. You'd probably get more use out of a second Ornate Chestplate to have different elemental imbues. As well, you'll also be looking to buy a Lion Plate at some point. Falcon Plate becomes available at level 300 and is the best defensive armor until you buy the endgame best in slot equipment. It has 12% physical protection and +4 shielding versus the 10% physical protection of Eldritch Cuirass. Upgrade to this when you can. As a shield, you get access to Falcon Escutcheon. It is a great shield, but a little on the expensive side. It has one more defense than Lion and has the same physical protection. The benefit of this shield is that it has max fire protection by default with an imbuement slot to add an additional protection. It can be a great option for Werelions as you can have both fire and holy protection on the shield, which will help you get started in this spawn. It may be a little cheaper if you buy a Falcon Shield, Grant of Arms, and Fine Cloth to create the shield for yourself. Also, the Grant of Arms will not be consumed when doing this. It doesn't cost much, but you can resell it afterwards to get a little money back. You'll have to compare the market prices on your world. If you're hunting spawns with a lot of fire damage, this is an excellent upgrade, but you can get by with the cheaper Lion Shield with fire protection imbues if you need to. Also, the best amulet you're going to get as a knight is the Enchanted Turtle Amulet. This amulet is actually available at level 200, but there is no chance the average person will be buying it then. If you can afford it, definitely pick it up as soon as possible. It gives +3 to melee skills, and physical protection 7%, and ice protection 15%. It lasts for 2 hours, and will be recharged with 2 silver tokens. This will be replaced in spawns where you have to run other protection amulets like Magma, Terra, etc., but for the skill increase and physical protection alone, it is great. Next is Falcon Greaves. Overall, best legs for knights and paladins, which is why they are so expensive. They give +3 to skills, 7% physical protection, and 7% ice protection. If you can afford these, buy them right away, but you'll most likely be saving for them for a long time. The last two items we will discuss for level 300 that are both little situational are Falcon Coif and Cobra Boots. Falcon Coif is better than Cobra Hood when hunting spawns that do fire damage because it comes with 10% fire protection. The downside is that it's 4 times the price of Cobra Hood. Grab this whenever you think you can. Obviously, it's quite valuable if you be hunting spawns that deal a lot of fire damage. It is also the only helmet that a knight can imbue with magic level imbue. You will generally be better off with the skill increase, but if there was a scenario where you wanted to boost your magic level by 2, this is an option. Next is Cobra Boots. They're actually available since level 220 and are nice compared to Depth Calce, but the price is not. They give you 1 more physical protection, and you gain 10 speed instead of losing 5. Over 20 million gold, you'll have a ton of other pieces of gear to pay for. If you have a ton of money, and can, grab them right away at level 220. Realistically, they don't provide as much of a benefit for the cost as many other items you're still going to be trying to afford. Possibly even grabbing some of the level 400 items first, or selling these boots to afford them, as they will give you a bigger bonus. Finally, level 400, the last level range to unlock new equipment currently. A lot of these items won't be affordable for the average player. You'll have to be either lucky with boss drops or be grinding the game a lot to afford them. You may be able to afford some of them right away at level 400, and some 800 or above before you even consider buying them. Also, their worth will be subjective, as always, to whether you play solo or in a team and what spawns you are hunting. Again, we'll cover weapons first, then the armor pieces. So I don't have to repeat myself, we'll cover the common stats of all soul weapons first. All of the one-handed weapons give plus 5 to the associated skill, have 100% life leech chance, give plus 5% life leech, have 100% mana leech chance, give plus 3 mana leech, and have 2 imbuement slots. All of the two-handed weapons give plus 5 the associated skill, critical hit chance 10%, critical extra damage plus 10%, and have 3 imbuement slots. As a club fighter, you get Soul Crusher and Soul Maimer. This is where you can clearly see the distinction as a club fighter versus axe and sword users in the price of the endgame weapons on older servers. The Soul Crusher is one-handed and does ice damage, while the Soul Maimer is two-handed and does energy damage. Axe fighters get Soul Biter, which is one-handed and does death damage, and Soul Eater, which is two-handed and does ice damage. Sword users get Soul Cutter, which is one-handed and does death damage, and Soul Shredder, which is two-handed and does ice damage. No matter which melee type you are, these weapons are great and can either open up spawns or greatly improve the spawns you are already hunting. For armor pieces, we'll first be discussing Soul Bastion, Pair of Soul Walkers, Spirit Thorn Helmet, and Spirit Thorn Armor. Soul Bastion has the highest armor and protection for shields, offering 42 defense and 10% physical protection. It also has innate 10% death protection. You'll have to weigh the cost for this with Falcon Escutcheon, depending on the spawns you're hunting. Pair of Soul Walkers are the best boots for knights. Highest physical protection at 7%, innate 5% fire protection, plus 1 to melee skills, and plus 15 speed because why not? Spirit Thorn Helmet gives plus 3 to melee skills, 13 damage reflection, 6% physical protection, and 10% energy protection with 2 imbuement slots. Spirit Thorn Armor gives plus 4 to melee skills, 19 damage reflection, 13% physical protection, and has 2 imbuement slots. You'll obviously be able to afford a Spirit Thorn Helmet first, as it is a fair amount cheaper, but if possible, you get better benefits from the Spirit Thorn Armor if you're able to purchase it first. Or even consider selling the Spirit Thorn Helmet to upgrade to the armor once you can't afford it. Compared to Cobra Hood, you get plus 1% physical protection and plus 2 to your skills, while the armor will give you plus 1% physical protection more and plus 4 to your skills over Falcon Plate. If you compare it to Lion Plate, you only gain plus 1 to skills but gain 7% physical protection. You also get more reflection from the armor versus the helmet. With the 10% energy protection though, the Spirit Thorn Helmet especially shines in a spawn where you're taking a lot of energy damage. Now, we'll cover some situational items from all level ranges in no particular order. Firstly, Frostflower Boots. These are available at level 270, are pretty expensive, and are similar to Depth Kelsey. They have 5% physical protection, which is 1 less than Cobra Boots, but they offer 5% ice protection. If you plan on spending a lot of time at a spawn dealing ice damage, definitely add them to your list. At level 250, you can get an Antler Horn Helmet, but it is expensive. You get more use out of a Cobra Hood and a Falcon Coif. It does have 7% ice protection, so add this to your list if you plan on hunting spawns with lots of ice damage, similar to the Frostflower Boots. Stitch Mutant Hide Legs are available at level 270, but very expensive. The only benefit is 1% more physical protection than Fabulous Legs, and 5% earth protection instead of the 2% fire. Also, they have 2% less physical protection than Falcon Greaves. These will be useful at endgame spawns that deal earth damage. Elven Mail has no level requirement and isn't very expensive. It has 3 imbuement slots, which allows for multiple elemental protection to be used, but has no physical protection. Physical is usually the top damage in a spawn, so I'm not sure of many areas where you would want to use this, but you should know about it if you do end up in a spawn dealing 2 significant elemental damages. You can run 2 elemental protection imbues while keeping vampirism on the armor. Spawns where this may be considered could be Soul War spawns or Warzone 7, 8, and 9 in the Too Hot to Handle quest. As a knight, you can make up some of that physical protection on other gear pieces. Eldritch Shield is available at level 270, but very expensive. It has 42 damage reflection. Damage reflection has a better benefit when you are a higher level and have higher skills, as it would cost more to get the extra 42 damage from the shield onto your average damage of your attacks by leveling and increasing skills. For the price though, it is more of an endgame item. There are many other more important pieces you will be purchasing first. Lastly, we'll cover the Spirit Thorn Ring. This is an expensive item and grants 2% physical protection and 4% protection for fire, earth, energy, and ice. It lasts for 3 hours and can be recharged for 5 silver tokens. This is a great ring if you're hunting spawns and taking multiple elemental damages, but it is so expensive. If you need protection, you can get more physical and energy using a prismatic ring, or using a ring of red plasma for additional skills and the physical protection. It's definitely a good ring, but it's an endgame item. There are many other items on the list that will give you a bigger benefit overall. I'm not going to dive into the Exaltation Forge too much, as there is a lot to consider. Obviously, the higher tier you can put on items, the better, but the items you choose to put these bonuses on will be affected by the spawns you hunt most. Also, the upgrade process is very expensive for Classification 4 items, and this grows by a crazy amount of gold for each additional tier. 2 helmets I do want to bring attention to as cheap options to tier are Zawin Helmet and Terra Helmet. Knights have many offensive spells in their rotation with cooldowns that last multiple turns. Putting Momentum on a helmet can allow you to use Exorigran a turn sooner if it triggers. Momentum can be triggering every 2 seconds your character has Battle Sign, and reduces the cooldowns of all spells by 2 seconds. Tier 1 has 2% chance to trigger, Tier 2 has 4.05% chance, while Tier 3 has 6.2% chance. Zawin Helmet is a Classification 2 item, which means you can only put Tier 2 on it at most. Tier 1 is fairly cheap though, at 750,000 gold, and you'll be using this helmet for such a long time until you get your Terra Helmet. If you have the money to spare, it may be worth throwing a Tier 1 on your Zawin Helmet. Terra Helmet will also get a lot of use. It can be replaced by the more expensive Cobra Hood, but Terra Helmet will also have the benefit of Earth Protection if you're hunting Earth damage spawns. Terra Helmet is also a Classification 3 item, which means you can put Tier 3 on it max. Tier 1 Momentum on a Terra Helmet costs 4 million gold to attempt and will be a nice bonus. If you do use the helmet a lot, it may be worth considering putting the helmet to Tier 2. For comparison, to put Tier 1 on a Classification 4 item is going to cost you 8 million gold for the first attempt. Another item you may consider tiering is the Elven Mail. It is also a Classification 3 item, which will make it cheaper to imbue with Ruse. Tier 1 Ruse will give you 0.5% dodge chance, which would be beneficial if hunting the endgame spawns you typically be using an Elven Mail at for the multiple elemental protections. The trinkets available are Moon Mirror, Starlight Vial, Suncatcher, Lit Torch, and Bone Fiddle. These can all be obtained from quests, but the first 3 listed are quite cheap and are obtained early in the Threatened Dreams quest. Starlight Vial gives 5% protection against mana drain, Moon Mirror gives 5% protection against death, while Suncatcher gives 5% protection against fire. Lit Torch is obtained in the Grimvale quest during the An Ancient Feud missions. This item is not sellable in the market and gives 2% holy protection. The Bone Fiddle is the most expensive by far because it is obtained in the True Azora area of the Secret Library quest. It provides 5% protection against life drain. There's no particular level you will need these for, just pick them up when you begin hunting spawns with these damage types and have the funds available. This concludes the list of items I would be aware of on a night and my best recommendations at a purchase order. Obviously, there's a big dependency on the spawns you are hunting at the moment when you are prioritizing the purchase of a weapon that will grant you additional damage to those creatures, or an armor piece that will grant you more protection. Hopefully, this can give you some insight into night gear and which items are worth purchasing and in which order. As I mentioned previously, this is just my opinion, and some of these items may become more or less valuable depending on the spawns you hunt, if you are solo or with a team, and the cost of them on your servers. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments below, and I'll do my best to give you some suggestions, maybe others will too. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.